Hello, my name is Linda, and I'm 37 years old. I work from home, and my husband, Jonathan, and I have been happily married for 5 years. Although we don't have children yet, our dual income household allows us to savor life's little pleasures like traveling and dining out. Since I've transitioned to remote work, I've taken on more household responsibilities, which lets Jonathan focus entirely on his career. Over the weekends, he pitches in around the house, and together, we've established a comfortable rhythm in our marriage. Jonathan and I first crossed paths during a group blind date, and his warm, inviting smile instantly captured my attention. After 3 wonderful years of dating, we decided to tie the knot. Jonathan has been my unwavering support, always lifting my spirits with his charming smile. Despite our happiness, our marriage faces challenges, particularly from my in-laws. Jonathan's family owns a thriving pasta shop, which his father established 17 years ago after leaving a corporate job. The business has flourished, expanding to several branches across the city. When I first met Jonathan's parents, they were dressed in flashy designer clothes, seemingly more focused on making an impression than showcasing their personal style. Our initial encounter was when Jonathan and I visited to announce our engagement, and from the outset, I sensed their disdain. They made it clear that any daughter-in-law would suffice as long as she could handle household duties and avoid causing trouble. They even bluntly suggested I might not be fortunate enough, which was quite hurtful. Jonathan immediately defended me, prompting a slight improvement in their demeanor. It was evident they were straightforward, perhaps a trait common among those in the culinary business, especially pasta shop owners. Fortunately, Jonathan consistently offers support, reassuring me and standing by my side. Despite the security we share in our relationship and knowing we can rely on each other, interactions with his parents can sometimes strain our happiness. However, I've made a conscious choice not to let their opinions weigh heavily on me, especially since Jonathan has repeatedly apologized for their rude behavior. He has reassured me that our dealings with them can be limited to major family gatherings. I've come to learn that Jonathan has had a long-standing strained relationship with his parents. His father, a stubborn man who struggled in traditional employment, grew arrogant after the success of the pasta shop. He often interfered with Jonathan's career decisions, demanding respect as the family's financial provider. Jonathan's discomfort with his parents led him to move out when he started college. Although he is grateful that the profits from the pasta shop helped fund his education and allowed him to secure a prestigious job, he prefers to keep his interactions with them minimal. Since our marriage, I've had very few encounters with my in-laws, which has been somewhat easy since we don't yet have children, allowing us to sidestep frequent family gatherings. We've been content in our married life, but recently my in-laws' business has faced financial difficulties. In the past, a pasta shop could thrive on good food alone, even with a gruff owner, but times have changed. Online reviews and social media now play a crucial role in shaping a business's reputation. Their shop has received numerous negative reviews with complaints about the owner's curt demeanor and untidy service from the waitstaff becoming common. It seems their initial success led to complacency, and this has now cost them dearly in terms of customer satisfaction and business viability. Once popular dishes are now unfavorably compared to instant ramen, and negative reviews are multiplying, severely damaging their reputation. Unwilling to adapt to changing times, my in-laws' business is facing a steep downturn. They clung to outdated methods and attitudes, which ultimately led to the closure of their shops, including their flagship location. Acknowledging the severity of their situation, they uncharacteristically reached out for help from their son, my husband Jonathan. In a desperate plea, they said, "Jonathan, please help us. At this rate, we'll end up on the streets." Jonathan had foreseen this predicament and responded with a blend of frustration and wisdom. "It didn't work out, did it? I warned you that arrogance would have consequences. You need to understand that customers are paramount, and if you treat them carelessly, it will come back to haunt you. You dismissed my advice as naive before, but this mess is of your own making. You need to reflect on your actions." His stern words shocked me. They were unlike the kind-hearted Jonathan I knew. Yet beneath that firmness was a deep love and concern for his parents, a quality that only made me fall for him even more. Despite their pleas, Jonathan firmly insisted that relying on us wouldn't solve the core issue: their attitude and approach to business. Defeated by his blunt refusal, they left, only to return a month later looking dejected and stripped of their luxury possessions. Even after selling everything, the debt is overwhelming. Please, Jonathan, we don't have anyone else to turn to, they begged, their pride swallowed by desperation. As my husband stood there, arms crossed, contemplating what to do next, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. While I had never been particularly fond of my in-laws, seeing them so humbled stirred a complex mix of pity and reluctance in me. Their plight highlighted the complexities of family ties and responsibilities, challenging us to navigate the fine line between support and enabling poor decisions. Witnessing their dire circumstances compelled me to suggest, Jonathan, what if we sent them a monthly allowance? My proposal caught both my husband and his parents off guard. They stared at me in disbelief. Linda, are you sure? Jonathan asked, his voice laced with astonishment. Yes, I affirmed. You've always wanted to repay them for supporting you through college, right? Jonathan hesitated but eventually nodded, recalling his past intentions. Well, I might have mentioned something like that. His parents seized the moment, pleading once more with their heads bowed. Jonathan, please, we're working hard to pay off our debts. Can you at least help with our living expenses? After a brief moment of contemplation, Jonathan agreed. Initially, he decided to transfer $3,000 monthly to them. However, sensing the urgency to help them stabilize and rebuild their lives, I suggested we consider adjusting that amount. Maybe we should increase it to $4,000 a month, Jonathan. He was hesitant at first, insisting that $3,000 was sufficient, but I pushed back, explaining that my career had blossomed beyond my regular job. Over the years, I had become quite adept at investing in stocks and real estate. I had accumulated significant wealth, enough to purchase luxury apartments and generate a substantial income from these rentals. Unbeknownst to my in-laws, my annual earnings had reached approximately $580,000, granting me considerable financial flexibility. I chose to keep these details private, especially from them, as I funneled a bit more money through Jonathan to support them. This was as much for his peace of mind as it was for their financial aid. During one of their visits, Jonathan's parents expressed their heartfelt gratitude. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thanks to you, our lives are slowly stabilizing, they said, and witnessing their genuine appreciation and seeing them begin to turn their lives around was deeply satisfying. It underscored the impact of generosity and the importance of family support, even in the most challenging times. Jonathan's parents' gratitude initially made him visibly happy, and we both hoped it would motivate them to find jobs and start repaying their debts. However, a month passed and they still hadn't secured any employment. Soon, a more pressing issue arose. They began visiting our house frequently during the weekdays. Our food expenses are mounting, Linda. Could you possibly spare us something to eat? They would ask, starting to arrive around lunchtime. Initially, they would eat and leave. But lately, they had taken to lounging on the sofa after meals and even requesting desserts. Feeling the strain on both our pantry and my patience, I decided to address the situation. Is this arrangement working for you, or would you like some adjustments? I inquired one day, my work beginning to suffer from their interruptions. I have work too, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't stay too long. I confronted my in-laws, explaining that their extended visits were increasingly compromising my professional responsibilities. They exchanged glances and laughed dismissively. Work? Aren't you always at home? If you're going to lie, at least make it more believable. They chuckled among themselves. It was clear that their long history in the food and beverage industry had left them unable to grasp the concept of remote work. I tried to explain it to them in detail. Remote work means I operate from home, using my computer to complete tasks just like I would in an office, I clarified, but they waved me off dismissively. We don't understand all this computer stuff, they admitted, showing no interest in understanding further. Despite my efforts to outline my busy schedule, they remained indifferent. Linda, we're out of tea. Hurry up and go buy some. Don't you have any snacks? Prepare some rice crackers or something, they demanded, as if my time was entirely free. Their criticism quickly turned personal and harsh. Such a useless daughter-in-law. For a housewife, you're inconsiderate, they accused. Oblivious to the impact of their words or the promises they made to find work and repay their debts. This situation highlighted the growing tension and a stark misunderstanding of boundaries and professional commitments within our family dynamics. Despite their assurances that they were earnestly searching for jobs, my in-laws continued to encroach on our home during the day, always ensuring they left before Jonathan returned from work. Perhaps they felt a twinge of guilt about relying on his financial support or wanted to avoid awkward questions about their job search progress. As I reached my breaking point, I finally asked, "Is this situation manageable or do you need any changes?" Even though I was contributing a significant amount of the money we were giving them, I couldn't understand why I deserved to be treated with such disrespect. One day, driven to the edge, I firmly told them, "Please leave now." They were shocked, clearly not expecting such a direct challenge from me. But their surprise quickly turned to anger, their faces flushing with indignation. "Who do you think you are, a mere wife giving orders to your husband's parents?" They snapped. "You're just a housewife dependent on Jonathan's income. How many times do we have to tell you we're not interested in your delusional stories about working?" They continued, their voices rising. I stood my ground, frustration and disbelief welling up inside me. "I'm not just a housewife. Enough with your outdated views," I retorted. With malice in their eyes, they shot back with a hurtful suggestion. "You should just leave this place." "What?" I exclaimed, shocked by their audacity. "That's right, it's because of you that Jonathan's remittance to us is so small. You know we're sending you $3,500 a month, right? What do you mean it's not enough?" They argued, clearly missing the point about financial responsibility. Their words left me speechless. It was evident they were the kind of people who would never see any amount of help as sufficient. Their sense of entitlement had blinded them to the reality of our efforts and the strain their demands were placing on our lives. As I stood there, stunned by their accusations, my in-laws glared at me with chilling disdain. "Hey, how long are you planning to stand there daydreaming? Pack your bags already. Don't you understand what we're telling you? You really are dense, aren't you? We're telling you to stop leeching off our son for money. Get lost, you parasite of a wife." They sneered venomously. Their words cut deep, and I realized that any further conversation would be futile. Resigned, I replied with unexpected calmness, "Understood. I'll pack my things and leave." To my surprise, my declaration seemed to stun them momentarily. They then smiled smugly, convinced they had won. "Now our lives will finally be secure," they chuckled among themselves. "If it was just the three of us, Jonathan and us, everything would have gone smoothly from the start." Ignoring their hurtful remarks, I began to pack my belongings, silently resolving to disappear as quickly as possible while watching them leave with looks of satisfaction. That night, when Jonathan came home, I explained everything that had transpired. He was more stunned than angry. "Linda, I'm truly sorry," he apologized sincerely. "It's okay. Now I realize they'll never change. It's good to know there's no point in trying anymore." I consoled him. Together, we decided to move out. A couple of weeks later, the in-laws called to check on the situation. "So, what's the situation now? Have you left the house?" "I've been trying to contact Jonathan about the remittances, but he seems too busy to answer the phone," they inquired, barely concealing their eagerness. "We've already left, so you can rest easy. You won't see me in front of you anymore," I replied coolly. I could hear the glee in their voices as they responded. "Ah, I see. Finally, our son can get rid of the burden that was you." Their laughter struck me like a jolt, and in that moment, I realized how liberating it was to be free from their manipulative grip. I felt a newfound confidence in the strength and resilience of our small family unit, ready to embark on a fresh start without the weight of their expectations and judgments. With the promise of increased remittances from Jonathan, my in-laws were visibly pleased, chuckling about how their lives would now be easier as they continued to ridicule and celebrate over the phone. A sigh escaped me, and I responded with sharp clarity. "You had a lot to say about me, didn't you? It might be enlightening for you to realize who the real parasite is." Their tone shifted instantly to anger. "With that attitude, you truly are a hopeless daughter-in-law. You're probably not even our daughter-in-law anymore. You might as well live a poor and lonely life." They snapped back. Their delusions were so profound that I saw no point in correcting them. I offered some vague replies and ended the call. Shortly after, the phone rang again. "Do you need something else?" I asked as soon as I picked up. My in-laws now sounded panicked, bombarding me with questions. What the hell is going on? When we went to the apartment where Jonathan lives, someone else was living there. You know something, don't you? Even if you two broke up, tell me where Jonathan is, they demanded. Jonathan, who had been listening in, took the phone from me. I've always been with Linda, he stated firmly. Why are you with that woman? And why have the remittances to us stopped? They continued to interrogate. Maybe it's because you insulted and tried to drive away my precious wife. I won't forgive anyone who hurts her, even if it's my parents, Jonathan replied, his voice steady and resolute. Besides, you never listened when Linda tried to explain her job and her contributions. Did you even realize that Linda was sending you more money than I was? Is that true, Linda? Were you sending them $3,500 every month because you wanted them to pay off their debts quickly? Jonathan asked, turning to me. Yes, I confirmed. I wanted to help speed up their debt repayment, yet all they did was insult me, calling me useless. I won't be sending anything to such ungrateful parents, Jonathan declared, ending the call. With that, we both felt a chapter close, a chapter filled with unappreciated sacrifices and undue criticism. It was a painful but necessary step toward protecting our peace and prioritizing our well-being as a couple. Jonathan declared firmly, I'm cutting ties with you as a family now. Deal with your debt on your own. In a moment of desperation, my in-laws pleaded, Wait, I had no idea Linda was contributing so much. Can you forgive us? If we apologize, maybe then you can send money again. It's too late, just give it up, Jonathan replied, his voice resolute as he ended the call and blocked my in-laws' number, ensuring that our paths would no longer cross. From what we later heard through relatives, my in-laws were forced to sell their house but still couldn't clear their debts. They now live in a rundown apartment, working low-wage jobs to scrape by. When they were prosperous with their restaurant, they reportedly treated their relatives with arrogance. Once their fortunes turned, they sought help from those same relatives who chose not to assist them, leaving them isolated and struggling in poverty. Jonathan and I had extended as much support as we could manage. We couldn't cover for them endlessly. It was a consequence of their actions. I doubted they would change their ways or attitudes, and it seemed they were resigned to live with the results of their choices. On a brighter note, Jonathan and I continued to cherish our time together as a working couple. A year later, I unexpectedly became pregnant. Although it was surprising, we felt deeply grateful for this blessing. Together with my beloved husband, we looked forward to raising our precious child and embracing a new chapter in our lives filled with hope and joy.